Welcome to another episode of SOS VHS. It's our Halloween episode, and Carlos and I are very excited to talk about one of our favorite slasher films, Scream.
You enter the show like that again, I'll cut you like a fish.
That's good.
That was really good.
I will. I'll slash your throat.
We believe you, Ghostface.
Yeah.
I'll cut you up. I'll rip out your insides.
We know
I'll
who
kill
you
your
are.
mother.
Good.
I'll kill your family. I'll burn your house to the ground.
God, that's scary.
Yeah. Where were you in 1996 when this came out?
I was 9 years old. I didn't see this in theaters, but I saw it on it was like HBO or Showtime when it came out, and it's very like post Tarantino. They're all talking about movies while they're in a movie, kind of thing.
Very meta.
They hit it really hard in this one.
Really hard. It's I think it's the first time I am aware of some sort of like meta horror movie that is funny, but it's also pretty scary. Like you have the thrill of both. It's like a good roller coaster haunted house movie. Even
now when like Ghostface is bringing up movies, I'm like if it was today, I'm like, you're a nerd, dude. I'm like, stop referencing movies. They're just movies. It's like maybe in the 90s was more of a thing or something, but
right. I think what Wes Craven liked about the script was the fact that because they're putting out the rules out there in a very like, self-conscious way, like this is what happens in movies all the time, then you don't know what's going to happen. Because if they're saying it, that means like you can break those rules and then nobody's safe,
Which famously happens in the movie as James Kennedy is saying, what's his name? Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah.
James Kennedy. As Jamie Kennedy is saying, like, oh, if you have sex in a movie, you're going to die.
Right.
She's having sex, and obviously she doesn't die.
She doesn't die.
Yeah.
But the idea of also that cycle, idea of like killing your protagonist very early in the movie, that hadn't happened for so long, right? And they did all the advertising, the trailers, even the poster of the movie had like Drew Barrymore as the protagonist.
And I love that she's even on the cover right there.
Right.
Crazy.
And she doesn't last, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, that opening scene's a lot longer than you would think. It's like it's like a full 8-9 minutes.
It's my favorite part of the whole movie. I love that opening scene. I was in high school when this movie came out, and I had going back, I have scripts of like movies, that were like basically takes on that first scene of like someone calling and because it's such a fun. I thought it was such a fun concept. It was pretty terrifying, but then the killer,
you're just like hola, ¿qué tal?
Yeah, I saw again, like I saw it in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, but this clumsy killer, right? Because he always gets punched and
falls down. It's scary the way he does. It's like a basketball player is running after you, and of course, once you see who the killers are, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Right, and the tricks of like, what are you watching? Do you like scary movies? What's your favorite movie? So I felt it spoke to me too, and like, I love those movies, and I know those rules, and I've seen all of these, Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. All movies that obviously are also close to Wes Craven's own, the script had referenced the director even before the director was involved with it.
Which is insane. When they say Wes Craven's name, I'm like, whoa, that's like breaking every rule in movies. That's like Tarantino being mentioned in his own script. Also, I was going to say, so if they're all talking about like things in our world, is the city they live in real?
Right. Like, I don't think Westboro is a real place.
So they're in a fake place. The movies are real. So in my head, I'm trying to figure out which world they're in.
Yes.
And I'm like, I guess they're on Earth and we just made up a city. And that's fine. But that was a little confusing for me.
Also, they have that moment that I usually hate in movies when they say, like, this is real life. It's not a movie.
Oh, I know.
But you are in a movie doing that. And I've seen it a million times, but probably this one is one
of the first.
Yeah.
I love Henry Winkler as a serious, like mean principal.
Yeah.
I love that. And he plays it so dramatically and it's so well. Like when the two kids get in trouble for pretending to be Ghostface.
Right.
He's so over the top, like theatrical.
He's, but also what I love the most about his character is that the moment that he, is one of the little, I don't think it's very hidden, but one of the kind of meta elements that happen in the movie is like he's hearing noises. He opens the door and he sees the janitor, who's Wes Craven, dressed as Freddy Krueger. His name is Fred in the thing. They cut for 10 seconds, so like they don't care. Like this is how much fun they were having making the movie. They reference everything. It's all. It's also obvious and explicit, and at the same time, it still works, right? Like one of the most famous moments is like the character who is the film nerd watching Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie and saying,
That's
"Hey,
right.
wait, look back," and at the same time, the killer is behind him.
The 30-second delay from the van. By the way, that is like, I love that. And then I hate when he opens the van door. And he sees the front door open. I'm like, dude, don't open the van door. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was so fucked up to see. It was scary.
Yeah. Because even at the very beginning, with the first call that Sydney, our protagonist, takes, right? They say, oh, do you like scary movies? And says, no, those are stupid. Always like a blonde girl with like whatever, fake boobs.
Running up the stairs.
And then she has to actually run up the stairs and like they do all the things. So I feel like it was the biggest slasher movie, in terms of box office ever. I think it's still it's still might hold the record. I think maybe the new Halloween, the 2008, because now movies are insane.
Oh, 2018, you mean?
2018, sorry.
The ones that what's his name wrote?
Gordon Green.
Danny McBride,
Danny McBride, Gordon Green directed, and right. Blumhouse revamped.
Crazy.
Yeah, but until then, it still holds that record of huge box office. It was also a Christmas movie, kind of programming against like Jerry Maguire and all those movies in '96 that were pretty big hits.
Yeah. Wow. My mind is still blown about like it still blows my mind to see Drew Barrymore on the cover.
Yeah. And especially, I mean, Drew Barrymore was the biggest star.
Yeah.
Because of her and Courtney Cox, the movie got greenlit in that way.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
Because they needed, Neve Campbell was nobody, David Arquette was nobody, so they all came out of this movie as movie stars.
And David Arquette's still working. Right before I put this on, I saw on my TV's homepage.
Yeah.
It was like him in a B movie, like something about aliens and robots.
Yeah,
something.
I mean, they were dating Courtney Cox and David Arquette. I think they got married after the movie.
Me and David Arquette dated the same girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was actually, oh my gosh, it was this girl. She had this cool apartment downtown. She was like an ex-stripper. And she was like, when David was going through his stuff, like I would always go hang out with him, do he would pay me to come over kind of thing like that. Okay. And that's not like a bad thing to say. So it's like a stripper or whatever. But yeah,
right.
I was always like, oh, cool, from Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, I always think of this movie as one of the last horror movies that I saw growing up that make an impact. I feel when I watch horror movies today, I still like them, and I saw the sequels of Scream and even
I love
the new remakes or whatever you want to call them, the 5 and 6.
I like 2 and 3 a lot.
The ones that he did as a trilogy.
I don't like the others as much.
Yeah, me too. But I think this one made a huge impact and say, hey, I will always remember. I thought the Ghostface is an amazing character. The meta theme was original at that time.
Yeah.
You know that the original script was called Scary Movie.
That's right. I did know that actually.
Right.
That's so cool.
And that then they did the Scary Movie as I guess a parody.
I love Scary Movie.
Yeah.
I loved it so much.
I love the first one. It made me laugh so hard.
It was so good.
But yeah, I thought Drew Barrymore broke kind of the image you had of horror. Mm-hmm. Originally, I think they wanted her to play the main character.
Yeah.
and she didn't want to, and she liked this one, and then kind of like she didn't want to disappoint Bob and Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Because remember, this is a movie.
So I thought about that when you see what's her name on screen. Who do you?
Weinstein's?
Well, besides them, who's her best friend in the movie? Neve Campbell's?
Oh yeah, forgot the actress name. Tatum, the character.
Yeah, the one that gets killed in the garage.
In the garage, yeah.
Well, when you see it now, you think about Weinstein.
Right.
When you see her, and it's funny you see this, you feel bad.
Yeah.
When I watch these movies, I'm like, oh, damn,
yeah.
I hope nothing happened. Like for real.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure how he operated, but when Harvey and Bob Weinstein created Miramax, which is the company that was kind of a staple of the indie movies in the 90s.
Yeah.
And they named it Miramax because of their parents, right? But that was more of a Harvey's domain. So Bob wanted to have his own thing, and so he created that Dimension, which was the kind of horror genre sub.
I didn't know Dimension was Bob.
And that was Bob. Although their names are always executive producer and everything.
Yeah, you see Harvey there, yeah.
That was his kind of terrain. And so this movie, I love all those Dimension movies and Miramax movies in the 90s.
Yeah.
But today is difficult to, when you see their name, you kind of cringe a little bit and see.
Well, you see it on Tarantino's movies too. But it's something about this one because you see a famous victim in the movie, and now it's
meta.
Disturbing in its own self to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's its own horror movie in itself.
Yeah. She had
Who's scarier, Harvey or Ghostface?
I think for them, Harvey for sure,
Harvey's pretty scary.
Because actually when I went to film school, I had a friend who wanted to write about these powerful producers that have all these this reputation of being just mean and what you see in movies, when you see the agent, the kind of like, what's the show? Entourage. That sort of mean person. And there's two big moguls in New York that acted like that. One was Harvey Weinstein and the other one is Scott Rudin.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both have incredible taste in movies.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. Like they were horrible people, but they really have good taste in movies. Mm-hmm. And so this friend of mine went intern for him.
For Rudin or
Weinstein? For Weinstein.
Yeah.
And he had fun because his expectations were like exactly...
They were met. Yeah.
They were met. And he was just taking note, but like throwing lunch because you forgot the...
As a guy, it's not as... It's tough. It's not as tough as the women get it. When we moved here to Hollywood, that's kind of how things were. Like, I got fired from a management company by them throwing stuff off my desk. It was more normal back then.
Right. I think it's unacceptable now. I feel... I mean, it probably was unacceptable, but it was part of like, you have to...
No one got in trouble.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
You have to be able to be abused, and then eventually you get to be like that to other people.
Yeah, then you're the abuser for sure. Yeah.
But I was sad when all of that came out because it's like, all of people who really made an impact in my life through the movies that they made now is like, have to rethink because obviously he built Miramax with Tarantino, all of the. Except for the last couple movies, all of the movies that he did were Weinstein. He made such an amazing, career.
And I wonder what Harvey's like really doing. I think he's just like hiring the best around him.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's like, well, I think you can emulate that with producers if you just hire the best.
Yeah, I'm not as sure because there has to be a taste.
Yeah, of course,
and he went for the independent movies that were actually had a big popular appeal.
Yeah.
And bet on certain artists,
And he changed the Academy Award races too.
Right. Yeah. He his most famous, like, I guess...
Shakespeare in Love.
Oscar snub was that, like that.
Yeah.
Right? He kind of got to steal, like, Spielberg's, Saving Private Ryan Oscar with his campaign and the money that
Which
he put
is
into.
An amazing accomplishment. Amazing. I gotta say, that's insane.
Insane for a movie that is... It was okay, but it was like so easily forgotten after.
To convince people they must vote for it.
Yeah.
That changes everything in the future on how we do Oscar campaigns.
Right. And it started a way of like, it's almost like a political campaign. You have to convince people to, you lure them into your thing.
Just like he did.
People don't get to, don't realize what an Oscar, how you get an Oscar. You have to invest millions of dollars. And that has nothing to do with the movie. I mean,
it's like running for president.
Right.
Yeah, you raise money, you throw parties.
Parties, invite people, give them gifts, all of the...
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I bet like Harvey Weinstein's like Shakespeare in Love campaign was probably like, I bet it was like bought up. Like, I bet like there was like a real like, here's Rolexes for your vote kind of thing.
I'm not... I mean, I have no information other than knowing that it was like a multi-million-dollar campaign that Spielberg refused to go against. He said, like, my movie is my movie.
Yeah, good for him.
But he got,
I know. He was probably very surprised on Oscar night. Like,
yes.
Oh, damn. That worked.
Yeah, he won Best Director, I think, for Saving Private Ryan, and they won Best Cinematography, but, they didn't win Best Picture.
They won Best Picture, though.
And everybody wants Best Picture.
Of course. The ultimate bragging right.
And also Best Picture is the Oscar that goes to the producer. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah,
Harvey
Weinstein gets
as the executive, but he's always, although he's the head of the studio, he's always the producer that will get the Oscar. He will go up there.
So he can do that.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's very much so.
It's like the ego of those people.
1,000,000%.
But during that time, like they made all of these horror movies that were pretty cool under that Dimension label.
Did they do I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah, because same writer.
Okay, so I never saw those.
Yeah, I think they're lesser, but it's still fun, and it had the same a little bit of that meta thing. So the writer of this movie, forgot his first name. I think it's Williams. Okay,
Kevin. Yeah, Kevin Williamson, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, it could be. He was just shopping this movie around, and they bought the movie, and then they went shopping it around for directors, and they went for like bigger directors and all that. And Wes Craven didn't want to do this. He just had done Vampire in Brooklyn, which is that like comedy horror with
very 90s.
Very 90s.
Yeah.
I think it's 95. What's his name? Eddie Murphy.
Oh, okay.
So it's a fun movie. It was a big flop. So he was very disappointed and decided, okay, let me. I'll if they give me an offer that I can't refuse, I'll make the movie. And then apparently, the Weinsteins look at the rushes, the raw footage of the film, and they didn't like it at all.
Of Scream?
Scream.
Yeah.
They wanted to change it.
Yeah.
They wanted to fire him, all of that stuff.
Wow.
And then finally they edited the first scene.
Yeah.
They show it to them and then say, okay, finish the movie.
They redid it basically.
He just put it together for them.
I see.
Versus just watching the dailies that they
I see.
And
this is my vibe. This is what it's going to be like.
Right.
And it's a beautiful...
It's such a good opening scene.
Do you think that's why it's so good? Maybe because they had to like show the Weinsteins?
I don't think so. I think Wes Craven has always... I think he is a pretty good director for this type of thing. I don't think he can do everything, but very effective. I don't know. He has the sense of horror in a good way. And in this movie, it doesn't take itself seriously.
No, not at all.
And I think that... Because like his most famous movie, maybe it's this one, but I thought it would be A Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like that's...
Either one, yeah.
Something that... It's probably such a good idea. If you think about the idea of A Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like that whatever happens in your dreams, can happen to you for real.
Yeah.
But it has moments that are like copy, Johnny Depp coming through the window. Mm-hmm. It's exactly how this movie starts with a boyfriend coming through the window at Nate Campbell's, So they have all that teen thing.
Very 90s also, to go through a window.
Yeah, but I think he had the pulse on the teen...
Yes. Yes, he was very in the know. That was also big in the teen era.
Yeah.
American Pie, everything was about teenagers back then.
Right. And
they were all fucking...
You guys remember...
Excuse me, guys. I had something in my throat. Do you guys remember Clarissa Explains It All, that Nickelodeon show? The boyfriend that always comes through the window.
Yeah.
They talk. Like that reminded me of Billy coming through the window. I was like, oh, yeah, Clarissa Explains It All. I remember that show.
It's so funny in the 90s, like all movies and TV shows that show teenagers, they were all like fucking white brats.
Yeah.
And it's very different from what it would be today. They were all like little jerk kids, like wearing the same kind of clothes. I never related to these fuckers. Like
it's a very specific, and also that you took that as this is what normal for me was like, oh, that's what an American college looks like.
What is what it looks like. I mean, yeah, that is. If
you see the new Screams, you know, like the general take I want, like you see how the makeup of the people is so different. It's complete.
Well, it's more realistic to what America is now.
Exactly. And
of course, it was like that back then, but Hollywood did not show people with Mexican last names or Latins or
right. It's everybody's the same. It's very, and to me, that was what it was. This is the normal thing.
Jada Pinkett Smith gets killed in the first 40 seconds in Scream 2.
Yes.
I'm like, she's one of the most beautiful actresses in the world. You're gonna kill her immediately.
I think it's a fun because then they come up with this. I think the first three. So the way that if you remember the credits on Scream, at the very very last kind of frame, there's like a quick cut to Ghostface.
Damn, I missed that.
So
really,
and it's kind of saying, "Oh, we'll be back," you know. And at the end of the second movie, they do the same thing.
Damn.
Because it was thought as a trilogy.
Yeah.
And then when they end the third one, there's nothing. You know, it's like it's a black screen. They keep it black for the second, kind of like teasing you, and then done.
The movie studio one is too good.
Yeah. But the idea of like, oh, they're making a stab, and that is like, so they kept the theme going, and it was pretty fun. I just feel the first one, the second and third one, although are fun, is kind of the same thing.
I love the universe they make, though. I gotta say, when I watched Scream 2, not like maybe last year, when what's his name is going to his apartment.
Yeah.
Show like the Hollywood sign and stuff. One, that's like a very like old fashioned way to show the Hollywood sign is through a helicopter because there were no drones back then.
Yeah.
So it's a very cool shot of it. And I remember seeing his place. I pinpointed it immediately where it was, and I looked it up, and I was fucking right, and I was like, damn, I've been in Los Angeles too long.
Right, now you know.
I looked at his apartment, him like pulling up or whatever, and I knew exactly where it was. Harper and Sunset behind the Body Shop.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did when I moved to LA. You know, I remember Speed and like, you know,
that's
Die Hard and those like, oh look, that's the Nakatomi building, and this I was looking for those
well,
places.
even in Speed, like the beginning when he's when he gets like the first call 20 minutes in, that's in Ocean Park and like Main Street in Santa Monica. Yeah, and obviously Die Hard is Century City very famously.
Yeah.
And the freeway from Speed was the 105, which wasn't even done back then.
Right. And it's so, or like same thing when I saw La La Land, and like it had a different experience because I had been in LA for a long time. And
that 110.
I could tell exactly which one.
So when I was on my Uber from the airport last time, you take the La La Land ramp.
Exactly.
To USC. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so they shut down both sides to, okay, I see how they did.
Did you start dancing?
Yeah.
I love that opening so much.
So cool.
I love La La Land.
Especially that, I think that opening is awesome.
I cry in La La Land. I'm like, that is a beautiful, beautiful movie. And I'm not a big fan of the director.
Yeah.
I just think he does the same thing over and over again. And also like, he's like one of those Harvard guys where it's very curated. I go to Harvard, I make a short, it becomes a movie, and then I get like the other movies, that kind of thing.
I don't like it because I'm envious.
Of course, but I think it's right to be envious because I think that like when you come out of like some of those places like FC or Harvard, I'm like, dude, are you actually good or are you just like someone who's given every opportunity? Because when it's that curated, I'm like, dude, you're not a genius.
To be fair, and that's something that
Whiplash was awesome.
We could talk about, right? Like the way that they raised the money, doing the short first, and then how they convinced the actors. I think there was a really good script. I think La La Land was a pretty good movie. After that, I'm not a fan. Everything else he's done.
What about First Man?
I didn't like First Man.
I liked it.
No,
you know why? The sound design.
I think it had a great design. I think it was pretty realistic. I thought it was very uninteresting.
First Man is
one of the best.
Genesis?
Sound design had one of the best sound design. Just the nuts and bolts like creaking.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
Was just anxiety.
Yeah, and the science fiction part or whatever you want to call it, the space stuff, all of that was very well done. But I thought it was pretty uninteresting.
It's kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
I was going to say I went to a party and the guy who won the Oscar for the music for La La Land was there. And like he does all the music and he's a Harvard guy. And I was making fun of Mark Zuckerberg or something. And he was like, oh, I was there with Mark.
Right.
And I went, oh, really? Did you know him? And he goes, yes, I have emails with him. I emailed him about the Facebook. And I was like, okay. He didn't like me making fun of Mark Zuckerberg.
Right. It's a club. It's an elite club. So, but going back to
Scream. Yes.
What was your favorite scene?
Oh gosh, favorite scene. Oh, Dewey being embarrassed at work.
Okay.
Yeah. Like mom says you have to treat me like a man of the law or something.
Right.
You know, he's like supposed to be 25 in that movie.
He says I'm 25.
I was like, that's insane.
Because I think like in real age, I forgot. I think
they're all older. They look so old.
What's her name?
Courtney Cox.
She's 30.
In the movie.
In 30 in real life.
Oh my gosh.
And,
we're older
and
than
Neve
Courtney
Campbell
Cox.
is 22 or 23.
Looks young. She looks really young. Like too young almost.
And then everybody else, I feel like it is right. Like probably David Arquette is in early 30s.
God, Courtney Cox is 30 in that movie?
Yeah.
Why did everyone look older back then?
Yeah, but when she goes to that party at the end with the kids, that you can see that she's a little older, but not that much older.
I know,
because they're supposed to be 20s.
Something about the guys too in like movies and TV shows back then, they all like looked older to me.
Well, I think the idea of you have always cast older playing younger,
of
right?
Course.
So it's the 25 plays the 19.
Do they do that still? Like on Outer Banks on Netflix?
They
Are those
do that
kids older?
I think they do it less. I think now kids are able to play a little better, but I was always annoyed by that because when I watched these movies, I thought, oh, this is high school. And then when I went to high school, it's like, wait a second, this looks nothing like high school.
You thought it was going to be guys with sideburns.
Right. I was like, I feel like I was like, wait a second. I'm a kid and all of these that I was promised, all these American TV and movies have lied to me.
So there weren't a lot of movies about prep schools. So like I never got that experience. So when I went to school, I wasn't expecting anything other than what I got, which was guys in polo shirts and button-up shirts and priests. But like, so American public schools look they looked like wild to me. I was like, I can't go to that. Right. I'll get nothing. I already do nothing. You want me to go to that? No. That's like going to the mall or something. Right. I was like, no, I'm not. I can't. Like, never been kissed or something like.
Right. You got the posh experience.
I did. I liked it.
Yeah. I went to nun school for my, I guess, middle school. Yeah. And then in high school, I went to public school. Like my parents gave me the choice and I wanted to go with the other way, and for me it was way better. And then I went to a public university too. Okay. Then when I went to New York, I went to a super elite school.
Columbia, right?
Yeah. And I felt there is like, oh, I saw all of these people were there.
Because that's how old they really are.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And yeah, the money and everything was very different.
Oh, at Columbia, of course.
Yeah. And I imagine the Harvard people being like that too. Is like this elite group of people who have it all already.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys have a Matthew Lillard type in at your school? That was that obnoxious, Stu that's always getting hit for saying something stupid.
We didn't have anyone like that. Thank God, though. Matthew Lillard looks like such a buffoon in this movie.
Do you know he actually dated Neve Campbell for 2 years?
Really? Well, he's tall and handsome. I mean, he's like a goofy guy.
He's a goof.
I think he emailed me and George recently.
Yeah? Yeah. That's so funny. Do you guys, were you surprised by the ending when the idea of the two killers?
So that's a very... the two killers I've come to accept. I think maybe the first time I saw this, maybe the second and third, fourth time, I was a little like annoyed. I was like, there's two. It should be one. You know, like you can do anything with two. Oh, I was over here kind of thing.
Right, because also at the very beginning in the Drew Barrymore scene, right, like they kind of trick her because they ask her like, oh, which is not who I am, but which door am I at?
Yeah.
And in reality, there are two, so no matter what she says, she's wrong, right? Because they
which I don't like. I want her to have a chance,
right?
And then like his phone falls out, and it's supposed to be like a white rabbit, but I'm like, wait a second, that's not a white rabbit. That's true the whole fucking time.
Yeah, and the movie is pretty. I mean, I think that's clever because it's like, hey, you think it's gonna be?
It's a double. Like agent move
exactly.
For sure. But I'm mad at being duped. Like
right.
But now that I watch it, it's so in the Scream lore to me to have more than one killer that I'm fine with it.
Right. Yeah, I was pretty surprised when I watched it the first time, and I thought it was very clever, like because you were okay. It has to be the boyfriend, and then they killed the boyfriend, and then wait, the boyfriend is alive, and then like, but it couldn't be the boyfriend because we saw but it's the other guy too, you know. So I thought.
You know what's fucked up?
That redirection happens twice, right? Because it's the phone, and then the Ghostface comes and slashes Billy.
Yeah.
It's corn syrup. So there's another
the same
redirect.
Thing they use in Psycho. I'm like, you movie nerd, dude.
Yeah.
Like
two redirects.
I think because I'm watching it, I'm also like, that's a high school kid talking about movies. I'm like, okay, like I know all those things. You're just a kid. Like you learned all about Psycho the other day.
Right. Yes. It's like,
you know what's fucking scary in that movie is like fucked up is when Lillard gets stabbed when they tells him to stab him, and he's like, oh, it really hurts.
You cut me too deep.
Yeah, when he says that, that's fucked up. That's like really like gets to me. Something about like slowly dying and it being a mistake, like you messed it up, like the criminals like shooting each other to make it.
I always hated that scene because at the end I'm with them. Is the fun thing about movies that you show me a plan, they are doing it well. Why don't they kill her first and then they start doing this stuff? That makes no sense.
I was thinking the same thing yesterday when I watched it, and I was like, because it's a movie.
I know, but everything else because
they are kids though.
Yeah,
they're dumb kids.
It's like, hey, they have everything right. She could. At the end of the day, they make the dumb movie that they were referencing all the time, you know. But
I like that Jamie Kennedy's right. He calls him Leatherface.
Yes.
I feel like Leatherface in here.
Yeah. And he
reference to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, no?
Exactly.
Randy is his right?
Randy, yeah.
And he's the only one who has it right the whole time because at the very beginning he kind of accuses Stu because and you kind of get the reason why because he was dating the Drew Barrymore character.
That's right. Yeah.
So probably that's why she was chosen.
He's really big and he plays football.
Right.
I love that part because it's just very all-American.
Very.
When she says that, I'm like, we're in a 90s American movie.
Yeah.
What a beautiful moment this is. Like, it's really cool.
It feels very American and definitely like, you know, something being for a different country, like it's like, oh yeah, that's what America is.
Yeah, the
cheerleaders and the football players and the
which is kind
American Pie and the
a little outdated now.
Yeah,
so I like that it's like this like snapshot in time.
Yeah, it's I like it. I think it's a fun. It brings me good memories watching it.
It was so fun watching it.
I was annoyed at the end, but I love that moment when Stu is like, oh, my parents are gonna be really mad.
My dad's gonna be so mad.
Oh yeah, that's so that's so funny to say. That's like clearly meant to like make the writer like Wes Craven laughed at that part.
Right. Yeah, I think
they're acting like kids now.
Because I think the writer he has sold one script before, so this is like his first real movie.
Yeah.
And Wes Craven came in and he said that he fixed a few typos and gave a couple ideas.
That's it.
But that was it.
That's awesome.
There were no, because we're talking about a director who was pretty famous at the time.
Well, if he's trying to sell it, it's probably the 20th draft.
Yeah.
That got shot.
Yeah, probably.
It's a tight movie.
It's very tight and it's pretty fun. And apparently he had also the sequels already planned, the second and third.
Oh, wow.
So actually with the Weinsteins, after seeing how quickly the movie was successful, asked Wes Craven to do the 2 and 3.
Harvey was like, we got to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
And then every movie is like the same way that it happens usually with sequels. You spend double the money and you make half of it, you know? Because the first one is just a phenomenon.
The second one is so good, though.
It's good. It's good.
So in the second one, they're making Stab 1.
Right.
So it's always like you're one behind
behind, and then there's
and Stab 2 and
it gets to a moment where like everybody, like that scene where like, oh, look behind you becomes so meta that
where they don't look, but then he's actually there.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's stupid in a fun way, and it's scary in a fun way.
I didn't like the new ones, and I was so sad.
I think, look, I didn't like the new ones either. And once, I think, like, I'm not a kid anymore. I maybe, you know, I watched in high school. You watch it a little bit earlier than that. I don't know if that has something to do with it.
You know what? I think it does, but I also think just straight up, I think it's all about the script, right?
Yeah.
I think it was better. They're better.
Yeah, but it's also the same thing. I've seen it. Like that 20 years later, you're making exactly the same
But if the script was good, we would all like that movie.
Yeah.
I really believe that. Like, we watch movies that come out now, the script, it's like Barbie could have been terrible, but Greta Gerwig wrote it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The new Halloween is good.
Yes, exactly. When I saw Danny McBride's name on Written By, I was like, oh, we're in for a good movie, because he comes from the school of good fucking writers. He made The Fitfist Way before
absolutely. And it's not a bad movie. I don't think, to me, they're not necessary movies. You know, it's one of those things that...
What movies?
Those remakes of something
course.
that... Because the original is good.
Well, they want to squeeze the money out.
I know. That's
There's
what
a
I'm saying.
lot to squeeze out, too.
You could come up with new concepts, you know, like... So when you make The Conjuring, you know, it is in that world that we all seen, but it's new and it's fun. You don't need to make Saw 10, you know?
Oh,
like
I know.
How many more of the same thing you can make?
But what'd you guys think of the Freddy Krueger movies that followed Nightmare on Elm Street?
I didn't like them.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
and even then...
They were scary, but I didn't love them.
Yeah, I think the first one, I've seen it recently, and... it wasn't as scary as it was to me when I was a kid. I thought it was the perfect villain. I thought the idea of like someone infiltrating your dreams and causing pain there, and then that pain or that death, it has some visuals that are amazing. You know, I even remember that hand coming in the bathtub in between your legs. You know, those things are still engraved in my brain. So it's a little 80s. Mm-hmm. If you'd see today, the light and the music.
It's very 80s.
80s.
Yeah.
And it's not as... So they solve some of those issues later on, but I think they mess with it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Nightmare on Elm Street guy.
Yeah.
Like, I know people who are, but I've just never gotten into it. I liked, you know, Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Like that. Like...
Well, these movies are called slashers, right? Like, I don't think there is a... I wanted to see what the term in Spanish was, and I couldn't find it. You know? What is the... How do you call this type of movie of like a serial killer that uses a knife, you know, and that is like blood? And they all have the same formula, right? Like the Jamie Lee Curtis movies, Prom Night and Halloween and the 20 Halloweens that she did.
I like when they trap the killer somehow.
Yeah.
Like even in the last Halloweens, there's like a bunker.
Yeah.
It's like, I think there's like fire and stuff. It's so cool.
And that killer is an amazing killer too, right? Because it's like so superhuman and...
But I just think
like
for
tank.
Scream, like I just always thought I could get away from Ghostface.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that on one hand, he's a silly killer. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if you are in his way, you might get killed for no reason, you know?
Yeah, he's like a super athlete.
Yeah.
Because he's a 17-year-old kid.
Right.
Like an athletic one. They play football, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I always thought, I'm like, you know what would do this well? Just 2 gunshots.
Yeah.
Like, and we're done. Just 2 shots anywhere on his body.
And as the movies start getting more insane, as the sequels, the person who plays Ghostface, the disbelief that you have to have, this girl now is doing all of these things, or this older woman is doing all of this.
The director.
Right.
Remember that? Oh, God. When it was the director, I forgot. And then they reveal that. And I'm like, it was him. And then when it's the mom, I'm like, that was the mom.
Right.
That's crazy.
Exactly. But the idea of having... because the way that they shot, for example, that first scene, and I think they did it for more scenes. They put someone, the voice of Ghostface, outside the house at a place that he could see Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And he called her for real, and he was following her, and she never met him.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, whatever she imagined. And then they had a stunt person like with the Ghostface.
I see.
Costume running around and and all that. But there was this someone kind of like doing this talking and
like Darth Vader. There's like more than one person.
More than one
human, which makes it very like cinematic, fantastical Hollywood, which I think is cool.
Yeah, and the movie, if you remember the first shot of the movie, right? The first shot of the movie is like kind of this tree, and then it tilts down and reveals the house. But what we see in the center of the frame is the little swing.
Oh, that will
kill her later. Yeah. So it has a lot of those details that I think is really well done. You know, very cinematic.
Great directing.
Yeah, exactly.
Homage to Hollywood, Hitchcock, all those people.
Yeah,
Universal's horror movies.
Yeah.
Even the house looks like it could be on that lot.
Yeah, and they look for the houses everywhere. They want a specific thing.
Where was it?
I think they end up shooting in. I think it was the Orange County or something. Like they were like a rich place.
Freddy's house is right by us.
Freddy's house.
Well, it's not his house. It's
right.
He's in the dream, but
But they shot. I mean, the Elm.
It's Hollywood in Fairfax,
right? And then they have the lot at Universal Studios. They have the set. But I just think this movie hits all the right notes in the right time. It's not not too serious.
No.
Scary, but you never like. So last week we talked about The Exorcist, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, we talked about The Exorcist, and I think that's a scary movie that crawls under your skin and
yes, there's some realism to it.
Right, you will never really be scared about this thing. It's more like a fun ride that you get it and you get out of the theater and it's like,
which I can appreciate. Like it's like it feels like fast food, whereas The Exorcist feels like sushi or something.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. I think they're both fun. It's both
good
different experiences, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I think my favorite thing in this movie is that opening for sure.
Who's your favorite character?
I wanted to say Drew Barrymore, but the reality is I don't know if I have a favorite character. I like Neve Campbell. I think that type of woman in that type of situation feels right to me. I think like, I don't know if it's like a feminist character or whatever, but I thought it was
without hitting it over your head too hard.
Right. Like in a very organic way, probably without any considerations like you would do today. But it's like, okay.
Which is really cool and kind of the way I want it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a say, and I don't, if people feel like marginalized, maybe they should do what they want. But like, Neve Campbell just being the protagonist in this movie didn't feel feminist. It didn't feel like it was like, a girl is here. Like no one thought that at the time.
The agenda.
There was no, I mean, maybe there was and we don't know, but like she really just fits in perfectly and
organically strong.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think it's really cool that I'm not even realizing that until right now. I'm like, oh yeah, the protagonist is a woman and the men are all pretty dumb in the movie.
Yeah.
My favorite character is Dewey.
Yeah.
I think he's like, hilarious.
Yeah, they have that scene where like, he's with the chief of police and one is like smoking and he's with an ice cream, right? And
it's so good.
One with a drag and the other one like, that is so silly. And
that is like comedy 101. One prop, no words, funny as hell.
Yeah, it's really funny. Apparently there was an outtake where like, the guy put the cigarette down, so he also throws the
that's fucking
funny. The ice cream, and then it was like too silly.
Silly, yeah.
But
you should have put the cigarette out in the ice cream.
Yeah. Did you think at any point in the movie that the sheriff could be the killer?
No, I never thought that.
Because they have that shot of his boots, right? And the only other time that you see shoes is with the killer, and it has a similar type of boot. But I think that never worked for me. I don't know if that was the intention.
I think it was intentional. I think it was, God, it feels like sage on your fries.
Right,
Like just very little bit, but like it's not like it's just there's so many misdirects in this movie.
Yeah.
Why not throw that small one in there?
Right.
You know, I love the little jump like cue that happens when Dewey arrives, right? Like he's like, oh, I don't mean to scare you. Like, he's just coming up upon somebody where it's like, hey, this guy is just kind of appears. He could be the killer. But I love that little trope that happens throughout where he just kind of
Dewey also has the best song in the movie. Nick Cave.
Oh yeah,
Dewey's theme. I don't know why, but Dewey gets the best song.
Such a good song.
They use it like in other. There was something recently where they used it. And I'm like, that's Dewey's theme.
Yeah.
It's called Dewey's theme.
It's the music in this movie is pretty good.
Oh yeah, Nick Cave. It's like campy, but also like scary.
Right.
I'm like, this is just, it's perfect.
The perfect tone. Also, something that those 80s movies that I do not love that kind of like the blue nights and like that looks very cheesy. This movie didn't overdo it. I think it's a pretty, realistic horror, you know, like it feels right.
This is as all-American to me as like Bill Clinton eating McDonald's and Al Gore in short shorts eating McDonald's. Like to me, this is like...
It has that sort of...
everything that's good with the 90s.
You know what I loved about it too? The opening scene is that you're just in the 90s, right? Cordless phone, right? You got the Jiffy Pop.
Yeah.
You know, you got the TV that's not it's not a flat, it's just not a flat screen.
It's 90s.
It's just you're transported back into the 90s. You're there, and it feels great.
Even having a cell phone.
I'm about to,
makes him a suspect.
Yeah.
Why do you need a cellular phone?
Right,
Everyone has them now.
Right. Yeah, and she has, she tells the killer, right, she's about to watch a video. Mm-hmm. So it's although that language of the 90s of like, the blockbusters and...
There's a blockbuster scene.
Right, exactly. And then, Randy has it right all the time. We were talking about that before because at the very beginning he names Stu as a possible killer. And then the rest of the movie, he's actually calling Billy the killer and telling that the dad thing is a red herring, that he's probably going to show up dead at some point, which would have if they didn't, stop it. So I think it's funny too that he's telling the truth and I
love that. So
with it.
I always think the best movies tell you the ending at the beginning.
Yeah.
You don't realize it's happening. I know I referenced Uncut Gems on this show already, but that actually happens. The guy who ends up killing Adam Sandler at the end tells him as he's getting on the elevator, like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a bullet in your head or something like that. And I'm like, that's the end.
Yeah.
And I just think that is beautiful writing that just completes the circle.
Right. I mean, one of the things that a big professor of mine had in film school that said, well, the ending should be surprising and inevitable. When those two things happen, when you are actually surprised, but then you see it of like, of course, it couldn't end any other way.
Exactly.
It's cool.
Yeah. Which is, I think, the best movies all end that way.
Right. And then another funny thing with Dewey is like, they kill him first. And when you see Gale kind of like being knocked down and you cut to Dewey, he's completely dead. He's not moving. He's not breathing. But they had a feeling, Wes Craven had a feeling that if the test screenings would show favor for certain characters, he didn't want to kill them completely so he could do the sequels.
Yeah.
So he shot that scene of like him going in the ambulance,
Okay. And that's really smart.
So it's like, he's dead, but then he can come.
Very Hollywood.
Right, very Hollywood.
Yeah. Which is great.
It's a cool movie thing.
Dewey is too likable to die in this. And although killing a likable character is a horror trope in itself.
Yeah.
I like that they just go, fuck that.
Yeah. And
did you guys, I'm gonna float something I picked up on, and maybe you guys didn't, but Stu and Billy, I feel like there's a little bit of homoeroticism there, just because of their buddies. There's closeness, and at the end, they're literally penetrating each other with a knife.
That's so funny.
I just felt like there was this like little like homoeroticism like thing between them, and I don't know if that's a stretch, but I just know from going to film school, like people getting stabbed in a slasher is this idea of being penetrated, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, of like, hey, I'm going to stab you. It has a little bit of sexual undertones. So seeing them stab each other kind of, you know, twists that,
love that,
you know, and there is that little bit of that homoeroticism that I picked up on. I don't know if it's a stretch, but I kind of like,
Right. So the writer is gay. Mm-hmm. Oh, the writer of this movie is gay.
Oh.
And this movie played really, really, really well with the gay community.
I was about to say a lot of,
And it had, so I don't think it's a stretch. It's something that, again, a lot of the sexuality stuff that is not in your face can maybe when I was in high school went over my head.
Yeah.
But watching it again, definitely I can see that. I can see the undertone with the two characters.
I never got that. I love that idea. So the movie Alpha Dog did really well with gay men. Because it's like Justin Timberlake, Emile Hirsch, all these guys just like broing out and hanging out.
Yeah.
I didn't know Scream did well with gays. That makes a lot of sense to me. I took it as just like two dumb teenage guys like broing down and like messing up.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's like this gay vibe is actually, that gives it more, no pun intended, dimension.
Yeah, and it makes it like in '96 very, very ahead of its time. You know, I think the writer, I always think like when you write something, there's subconscious thing that, you know, you are putting yourself in every character, you know, so even if your intention is not to make some sort of statement, you whatever ideas you have and whatever your reality is, you put in there, you know. It could be like a certain wink or like, you know, whatever.
Two guys are the killers, two handsome men, the boyfriend and the other boyfriend, like that does. And also, like, I feel like there's kind of no greater enemy to like the gay guy than like the two handsome, like over the top straight like boyfriend bro dudes. So it's like, well, why not like take control over them and make them killers and make them dumb? And I don't know, that very much tracks for me. And
they have a lot of moments. There's a lot of looks between them. Of course, when you rewatch it, knowing that they're the killers, the undertone could be, well, they are indeed together. But now that that's
intimate in itself.
Exactly. Yeah. So that first conversation that they have, the five of them, you know, after they learn that Casey and Drew Barrymore's character is dead in the high school, right, or whatever
at the fountain,
college, at the fountain. The looks between them.
I was seeing that too.
You can see that connection, and it's you can read it as something, you know, more than just
two men
together.
Killing someone is just the exact inverse of two men birthing someone as well. So it's like there is like that like opposite but on the same side of the street. I got that from Unbreakable with Samuel L. Jackson. But you know what I mean?
But also the violence and sex goes together, you know, the idea of like, you know, there's a lot of like killing that has
bodily fluids,
that sexual killing, you know, like there's a lot of that too.
Well, people say that about like stabbing and stuff, is like they're always crimes, they're generally in court crimes of passion. So, and there seems it seems very like I don't know, like wet and wild.
But what I like is that if you don't see that, or if it doesn't, it's not in your face either. It's not a statement movie. You know, they're not making a statement about.
And I like the gay,
social.
Neve Campbell, the protagonist. I'm like, it's all tracking. That's really cool. I really like that. More a slightly more open mind. Was able to like make this like beautiful like horror movie. I think that's really cool.
It's a cool little sprinkle without having to be you know, over the top. I when I saw the new movies, right, like to me they lost the magic because they're basically the same. They're basically the same. Acting is really good. I think the actors are amazing, you know.
With the Jenna Ortega one is pretty cool. New York. But I didn't love it, but it was pretty cool.
The setting is more real because it's like you don't see the set of the Westboro feels like a set.
1,000,000%. Right. On purpose a little bit, I think.
It's like like you said, the all-American town, you know, it has the...
And Andres, did you work with Jenna Ortega right before she did Scream?
Just before. So she was testing for Scream when I was working with her. She had X next. So she wanted to be this, the kind of like Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's pretty cool of her.
Yeah.
To want to do stuff like
especially
that.
Because she was coming from... Yeah, but she was coming from very child content programming, right? Like Disney.
That was her thing. Okay, I didn't know.
So she wanted to break that, and she loved horror movies. So she did American Carnage, X, Scream, and then she got Wednesday, and then the second Scream. So I think she got her place in that. I don't know if she's gonna keep doing horror.
That's cool.
But it's and she's super talented. I mean, to me, like
I saw her in that show You.
Yeah,
and I thought she was incredible in it.
Right. She did The Fallout. It's a movie that you can watch on Max, and that's an indie movie with like a lot of acting and like really good. She won South by Southwest. So yeah, she's a really talented actor, but I think the movie itself felt like, okay, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. It is well done, but it has no soul.
What's the point? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there's something about the lack of soul where I was like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I think I watched it on my iPad in a hotel room, actually.
I'm a little tired, as well as any movies can be done today for like in terms of like perfect lighting and the great effects. And that I'm tired of seeing the same movie again and again.
Of course. That's why I liked watching Palm Springs a couple weeks ago. I like seeing like new original takes
something
on
original when you see the directors like that you like and doing something original, not repeating the same thing.
What's a franchise, horror franchise that you guys like? That's it's got at least 3 movies in it.
The new Halloweens. I love those. The new ones are so good.
Franchise that I like all the movies. It's like
horror.
Yeah.
I would have said Scream. Because I love Screams.
I probably Scream 1, 2, and 3 are maybe the best one. I can't because there's a lot of movies that I like the first one. I don't know if Jaws it's a horror movie, but it has the horror element. But I love the first one. The other ones I think are garbage.
I like
Psycho,
3,
maybe Alien. It's kind of horror. I know it's sci-fi, but horror. Sci-fi.
I mean, Alien is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's another movie that we could talk about one day. Yeah. Alien. I think Aliens is great, but I think it's not a horror movie anymore. Aliens is an action movie, and it's a great movie.
It definitely transfers over.
Yeah.
From the first one. The first one is incredible.
The first one has the suspense and it's the
slow.
And the horror actually is creepy, has some images that you cannot forget.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's
the coming out of that's insane. And once you see that.
Yeah.
But the second one is a really great action movie, but you're not scared per se. You might have some.
No, it's just fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
The third one was okay. It's David Fincher's first movie.
But Scream. Scream 3 is awesome.
Scream 3 is pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of franchises in general.
I would say Scream for me, even though we're talking about that.
Yeah.
Like I said, for the new ones, the new Halloweens are just incredible.
And a follow-up question, since this is Scream, what's your favorite scary movie?
The Exorcist.
Yeah, I would say The Exorcist is...
The Conjuring 2 is so good.
Conjuring, the first one, was so amazing.
Yeah.
I thought from James Wan, who I think today will be the horror guy, right? Because he did Insidious, and then he did Saw. The first Saw is great, and then he did The Conjuring, and everything he touched became a franchise.
Yeah.
Right, the Conjuring universe or whatever they call it.
That's where the Nun is, right?
The Nun is part of that. The second Conjuring is great. It has that Nun sequence.
Oh, I know.
But the first one, I remember watching a premiere with the director, and they had that moment where the hands come out of nowhere and clap.
Yeah.
And everybody jump, and then there was a pause, and then everybody laughed. And I thought, wow, this is like as haunted house theme park moment as you can have in a movie theater. You have all the emotions going through.
Wow, them laughing is like how afraid they were.
Yeah, the release,
Wow.
And I thought it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there are movies like The Black Phone was good, and like Sinister, same director. There are movies here and there that are I think are great, but to me the ones that maybe I'm not as scared as I used to.
Yeah.
But Alien will never let me sleep again.
That's how The Exorcist for me.
The Exorcist. The Changeling is a movie in the 80s. I don't know if you saw it.
That's fucking scary.
For me, it's Hereditary. Hereditary, and not my favorite, but one that's impacted me only because Ari Aster loves to start off with a real life tragedy, so you're feeling for the characters, and then there's a supernatural element on top of that.
I don't like those movies.
Oh, it's tough.
I don't think. To me, Hereditary is not scary. It is disturbing.
Yeah,
and it's to me it's a slightly different. Meaning, I don't fear. I don't go. So I remember when I watched The Changeling.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to go into my parents' house.
Yeah,
hallway without turning the lights.
Oh
on.
yeah,
and I will always hear the voice of this kid that was murdered in this house. You know, so Joseph. And my
I got shivers. I got shivers.
and my brother would cry because it was such impactful things. Also, we were younger, so maybe Hereditary is more like, wait, they went there?
Yeah, Bobby made me watch that.
It's perfectly executed. And I know Ari, so it's like, I am a huge fan of his. I think technically he's an amazing director.
Yes.
He's very disturbed human being. Has like his imagination is so dark.
Yeah, it's too dark for me.
Because Midsommar is also dark.
I think that's what
also didn't like.
That's why it impacted. I was like scared because it's like it's just so dark that I went into a dark place afterwards. Like my mind's in a dark place. Yeah,
Hereditary. I just want to be like, look at the wall. Don't look at me.
Yeah,
don't look at me. Leave. Just leave.
It is. It has that thing, but to me, it didn't follow me. That movie home.
Oh, it followed me.
Yeah. So for you it was scary.
Oh, I hate that. It's like I'm mad at it. It's so scary.
Yeah.
That's why I like Scream. I want to see Drew Barrymore.
Scream is always a movie.
Yes.
Like we saw when we talk about The Exorcist was shot as documentary as it could be. Mm-hmm. It was a real thing. Yeah. We captured it. We saw an event that is supernatural and that can hunt you. The devil is real. This is a movie. It's a movie about a movie. There's never the frame of reference is always have fun. It's a theme park experience.
Hereditary felt like, I could go to a party with like a sibling and get their head chopped off, and I was like, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, fuck this movie.
Oh, we was smoking weed and then he starts choking, like he thinks he's choking. Remember with friends, like I'm like, this is tough to get through.
It's so weird.
It is beautifully done. I think the talent is there for sure. I just don't think it's in my wheelhouse of the things that I want to watch again.
I never want to see it again. Yeah. Never again.
But it's definitely a good movie like that.
Yeah, you can't deny
I think on the other spectrum, you have people like Guillermo del Toro, which I really like, and he loves monsters, so his monsters are lovable.
Yeah, it's cool.
It has the horror, like a little bit like Tim Burton. You have the horror aesthetic, something that you love. But it's not scary per se. It's like in the world where like, it's gothic, it's dark, but the ghosts are nice, or it's like. The horror doesn't.
It just seems cool to me. I'm like, this is just like some sort of fantasy land,
right?
With monsters, and they're probably not.
The monsters are the outsiders. They are the people in danger. You know, that sort of thing. So I like that. I don't know. Yeah, like things like Pan's Labyrinth or the Shape of Water. You know, they have the horror element.
They're just weird,
but it's not
disturbing at all.
Right. And Wes Craven. By the way, like both Wes Craven and William Friedkin, who we talked about like a couple of weeks ago, are recent deaths.
Yeah, I know. Super sad.
And it's sad that kind of like an era of filmmaking is over.
1,000,000%. What are the... Yeah, it's just Saw 10 now.
Right.
Those are the horror movies.
Right. So I think James Wan definitely, he was the king of horror. The Blumhouse factory of movies. I think probably I would say the best of the best movies might be Get Out, like Jordan Peele.
I didn't even love Get Out though.
You didn't?
No, I didn't love it. I like the idea of it. Like I referenced the sunken place in my daily life, but like I didn't love Get Out. I really like the one with the aliens. Not Us.
Nope.
I loved Nope. but I didn't like Us either. I was like, whatever with this movie.
Yeah.
But Get Out, I thought it was cool, but there was something about like everyone around you having this cultural phenomenon that turns me off.
Okay.
Like, I don't like having expectations or feeling like I have to like something.
I get that. I thought it was such a clever way of dealing with an issue that he feels passionate about.
Of course.
With the tropes of horror and beautifully done. I thought it was like such a clever movie.
It was cool. Yeah, I don't know why. I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always feel like horror and comedy have this one thing in common, which is you don't overanalyze them when you watch it. It's like you're reacting for like you're getting a prime reaction, either the laughter or you're scared of something. You have that.
You have to be on the ride. There's no time.
It's the ride, and it gets you. So I always love those movies, and I think are the movies to go with your friends.
Yeah, you get in at the end, you get out. Like
and I think horror is one of those things. And now that it has Halloween all around us, have you seen any of the new horrors that are out there this Halloween?
Really.
Not yet.
No, I want to watch Saw 10 just to see what it is.
Yeah, I saw Saw 10. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Nothing super impressive and a little more of the same thing.
Okay.
I want to watch The Exorcist Believer.
Me too.
So
I have to see
we'll see if that. And what else is coming out? I think we should do maybe at the end of the month like a ranking of the new horror movies.
Okay, we should do that. I mean, I just want to see Oppenheimer when it comes out to rent.
So since this is our Halloween episode, explain to people why they should see Scream, why that's a good Halloween movie to put on.
Well, I think it's one of those movies that is fun.
Yeah.
So it has in the Halloween spirit of like being scared, but it's not disturbing. It's not. It's you can have. It's a movie. It's like popcorn and friends and a fun time. Really full of twists and you get to guess what's happening.
No movie like this anymore either. There's not one out on theaters or streaming. Scream is it.
Yeah, and it's a like you say, it's a snapshot of a great time. And for us, it's our childhood.
Yeah. It's a good time for white people on that cover too.
Yes, definitely a different times.
Yeah.
One of the master of horror, Wes Craven.
Yeah.
He always wanted to do something else, but he never got the chance because he was so good at horror.
Good for him. It's beautiful. Like,
and he was able to create like franchises, and like because he did The Hills Have Eyes, right?
Right. Yeah.
Got remakes, not a franchise, but A Nightmare on Elm Street got 6 movies. Scream we're going in the 6th movie now, right?
It's
so
insane.
crazy fun.
I also think it's the fear you get during Scream isn't like we said, Hereditary or something like actually like creeping you out. It's just it's Hollywood fun. Despite Weinstein making this is like what Hollywood is. It's fun. It's popcorn. It's celebrities. It's I don't know. I love it. I love the ice cream bit. You know what I mean? Like, this is just a fucking good movie.
Yeah.
And if you're sensitive to horror like I am, horror is not really my genre. I had a hard time watching The Exorcist. I loved it, but it's a one-time watch for me. But if you're a little sensitive to horror, I mean, Scream it's just a fun ride. It's something to put on. It's just to just have fun with. That's all it is. So I recommend it to anybody that's a little sensitive to horror. You'll have fun with Scream.
Yeah, and it's incredible because this movie got an NC-17 rating.
It did?
And then they had to cut a lot of things. And it's like, hey, don't you understand that is comedy? For example, all that stabbing scene at the end happens off screen. You never see the knife going in and out. So they crop that. Or like the Drew Barrymore thing with her organs out. They had to...
They don't show it.
They had to not show anything moving in there. So
that's so annoying.
It's like I mean, William Friedkin hated the MPPA, and I think for a good reason. Is that they're very arbitrary.
Remember that Seth Rogen movie where he kills Kim Jong-un?
Yes.
So The Interview. So remember, like the controversy was how many embers of fire you could put on him at the explosion scene.
Right.
And they showed the difference between Seth Rogen's cut and then Sony's notes.
Yeah.
And it's like 15% less embers. And I'm like, these are just guys justifying their damn job. This is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And we shouldn't have a sensory board, you know. If like,
you say that as a European or as someone who's been here now and you understand because I feel like you understand the culture here.
If you're 7 years old and your parents take you to a movie, they are your parents, you know, whatever.
Which is how I was raised. I went to those movies.
So the rating is not going to help you either way. But when you put an NC-17 on a movie, you kill it.
Yeah.
And especially for stupid things that are like not
I think
real,
it's fucked up financially. I agree. It's like, well, wait a second. Now people can't make their back end money. Like you're really ruining the relationship with AMC theaters or something.
Yeah, and also, so what William Friedkin complained is like, you don't know who these board members are. It's like this moral police that you have that says, for example, okay, it's okay to blow someone's head, but maybe showing like someone naked is not. So what is the, I think, so they all play this game of recutting and making, so the
famous
taxi driver scene at the end is like he end up the candy
red blood, right?
Right, the candy red color of the blood, and they had to desaturate it to make it a little more like, less
graphic, I guess.
Less vivid.
Yeah,
and making that change allow him to put the movie. So you have to make those compromises, and it's all like whatever. It's based on an arbitrary thing.
It's got to end soon. Those people, it has to be from a new generation now. Our generation has to be in that room, I would imagine.
Yeah, I feel like obviously if you're making a movie like we're talking about, like a Hereditary, it's not a movie for kids.
Yeah.
So that is an obvious thing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be shown as much as possible, and everybody who can, who
wants to should have the opportunity. Yes, I agree.
Right. And it's like up to us to decide, I think.
That's insane. The nudity thing, and you saying coming from Europe that they don't put on towels to go to the bathroom, things like that.
That thing has always driven me crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny, so I don't think twice about it. It's very American.
Right, it's very American. But when you when you are in your life, when have you actually seen that?
Oh, even today, I was like naked going to the bathroom.
Right, because that's how people behave, right?
Exactly.
And it doesn't make it like, I don't know.
I opened my front door naked to let out the dog. I don't care.
Right. Okay, you are a little more NC-17 than I do. But anyway, I think watch Scream. It's a great movie.
Hell
great
yeah.
slasher, great fun. It's Halloween, so it's a fun time to watch this type of movie.
Halloween time. It's Halloween time. That's a made-up song I did. I thought it was from...
Good job.
Yeah.
That's Nightmare Before This.
Yeah, but I'm doing a bad version of it.
And I guess we'll see you guys next week.